Hello and welcome back everybody, Cody here, and thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to go into part 2 of the Essential Guide to Generating Consulting Clients, and we're going to go over a case study today of how we've used this in our business to generate over $1 million of business so far. So if you didn't see part 1 yesterday, I highly advise that you go back and have a look at that, because I'll go into some detail on how I was able to build my business from nothing up to $50,000 a month in reoccurring retainer clients in only 4 months. I went into just a lot of detail on how I did that and the mindset required. So if you haven't seen that, highly recommend you go back and look at that, because it's going to make this make a lot more sense today. So today in this training we're going to go over using EBM in direct mail. So that's educationally based marketing, and there's two things really I'm going to share with you today. The first is I'm going to give you a direct mail piece that has produced over $1 million so far of consulting business. Now, I don't know what the exact number is, because I've licensed this to clients for $9,600, and I've had a lot of clients use it, and it's generated a lot of business for them. So I don't know the exact number that of revenue that it's produced, but let me tell you, it's a lot, right? It's produced a lot of revenue. So I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to secondly go over why this works. So I'm going to show you why it works, so you're going to be able to modify this for your own use. So currently I've got this set up for PPC, but it's going to work for SEO, social media. You're just going to need to make some tweaks to it, and I'm going to show you the elements, why they're there, and that way you're going to know exactly what you need to do to make this work for you. So without further ado, let's head on over to the direct mail piece and have a look. So hopefully you can just take this and use it, right? Generate some clients. That's my goal. So let's get into this right now. So to start with is the headline, right? So very, very important. This is what's going to determine if somebody reads your piece or if they just throw it straight in the trash. So as we talked about yesterday, specificity versus generality. Key, extremely important. So we want to be very specific about sending the mail out, who we're sending it to. And we want to take a little bit of time to target people and to let them know that we've targeted them, right? So the first thing is, you can see the headline here is, John, if I were you, I'd switch off your Google AdWords campaign until you fix the problems. And then I've got a picture of the ad here, right, of this guy's business. So when somebody opens this letter, and we're going to make sure that they get it open, we can't cover that today. We covered that, we cover all of that stuff in the paid training, but today we're just going to cover the letter. If somebody opens this letter, and like I say, they are going to open it, we're going to make sure that happens, and the person who owns the business is John, and this is his ad, he's going to look at this, and he's going to see his name, and he's going to see his ad, and it's going to get his attention, right? He's not going to just throw it straight in the bin. He's going to look at it and think, what on earth is this about? So we want to really employ that specificity versus generality. So take the time to get the name, get something in here that is going to associate this piece of marketing collateral with that person and their business, right? Get their attention. So again, this is kind of an attention grabbing headline. If I were you, I'd switch off your Google AdWords campaign until you fix the problem. So this is going to create a question in the person's mind. They're going to go, well, what problems? What problems does my campaign have? And because we've been specific to get that person's attention by using their name and their ad, we've got them engaged in a conversation at a really very basic level, right? But we've got to do more to make sure that they stay engaged in this conversation. So let's go into the copy and go through it one element at a time. So the next thing is, it says, John, I hope you don't mind me contacting you this way, but as a business owner, I thought you'd appreciate knowing these things. So we want to be aware that we've kind of intruded into their space, right? We've intruded into their day, and we don't have permission to do that. So permission-based marketing is always better than non-permission-based marketing, obviously. So what we're trying to do here, this very first element, is we're getting permission to speak to this person. So I hope you don't mind me contacting you this way, but as a business owner, I thought you'd appreciate these things. So hopefully John's saying, yeah, that's fine. So now in the conversation in John's mind, we've now been given permission to talk to him, right? Because he's curious. He's like, well, this person knows who I am. He's got a picture of my ad here, and he's telling me that I've got problems. So that's fine. Go ahead and tell me what the problems are. So we've gained permission. We want to get permission very early on. So the next point is, I'll get to the point. Your AdWords campaign could easily be performing 107% better. You just throw in money away. So we've made a bold statement here that John is probably thinking, well, how on earth do you know what my AdWords campaign is doing? How do you know it could be performing 107% better? You've never seen it. And this is absolutely true. So we've got to address this. So the next line gets straight into addressing that, and it says, I'm sure you're thinking, how can you possibly know this? Because guess what? That's what John is thinking, right? He's thinking, well, how can you know how well my campaign is performing? You haven't seen it. So we're going to address that, or else he's just going to throw it away at that point and he's going to dismiss it as just, standard marketing material that he's really not very interested in. So the answer to that question is, the answer is because your advert and landing page is a red flag to a much bigger problem. Now, we're just going to address this head on. I understand I've not seen your account, right? So we're telling him, haven't seen your account, so let's just get that objection off the table right now. But I've looked at literally hundreds of AdWords accounts, and without exception, when I see poor ad copy and suboptimal landing pages, it means there's major problems inside of your AdWords account. So what we're doing here is we're building some social proof into what we're doing. We're starting to establish ourselves as the expert, and we're starting to give ourselves some credibility in John's mind, right? So saying I've looked at literally hundreds of AdWords accounts, this is saying that, hey, I know what I'm doing. This is not something I've just started doing recently. I've done this for a long time. So again, let's go on. So we've got to be a little bit careful about this, right? Because we're insulting the guy. Maybe this guy has written this ad himself. Maybe this guy has put this landing page together himself, or this website together himself, right? So we've got to be very careful here, because we could really insult the guy if we're not careful. So we want to address that. The guy might be thinking, John might be thinking, well, I wrote those ads and I think they're pretty good. How dare this person come and tell me they're suboptimal and not very good? So again, we want to address that immediately. So we're gonna apologize. I apologize if this offends. I'm sorry if I'm saying that your work is not very good, but I'm not writing to comment on how amazing everything is. I'm writing to make you aware of problems that are undoubtedly costing you money. So we want to get it away from being kind of a personal insult and just name calling at this point, and we want to get it back to what this is about, which ultimately we want to put money in John's bank account, right? This is what we want to hammer home, and this is what we really want to focus on. So you want to make sure that if any time in your copy you've possibly offended somebody, and you need to, because good copy is divisive, right? If it's strong enough to attract, it's also strong enough to offend. So we want to be aware of that, and we want to kind of build some safeguards in, and we want to make sure that we're following what's going on in John's head here, and if he's been offended, we need to address that. So next part is I've included a copy of our landing page guide that will help you, and this certainly increase your conversion rates by at least 100% and as much as 800% if you use it. I guarantee it. So we've said here that the problem is poor landing pages, right? Suboptimal landing pages. So here's what we're going to do. It's like, hey, your landing pages are not optimal, so here's a guide. I've given you a copy of a landing page guide. If you just have a look at this, then it's going to increase your conversion rates by between 100 and 800%. I guarantee it. So we're not selling anything, right? We're not trying to sell ourselves at this point. This is educationally based marketing. So John doesn't understand at this point that his landing pages are a problem. He probably thinks they're pretty good. He probably thinks they're okay because his web designer and his graphic designer have told him how amazing they are. It doesn't matter that no money's coming into the business through them. He thinks they're wonderful, and he has a look at them and it's all pretty and stuff, and he thinks they're wonderful. So he doesn't even know that he's got a problem at this point. So if you remember in our video yesterday, in our training yesterday, we've got to educate them as to why they need a solution. We need to solve a problem. So we've first got to make them aware that they have a problem, and the landing page guide does that really, really well. So I have an 18-page guide on landing pages, and it's really just thorough. And by the time the prospect has got done reading this, they're going to be in absolutely no doubt as to why their website is not performing. So I include this in the direct mail itself. So when John has read this, then now he's understanding that he's got some problems. Now he's starting to see why his account isn't performing as well, and we've overcome these initial objections as to you haven't seen my account, you don't know what you're talking about. And we're starting to really credentialize ourselves as the expert. So the other thing that we're doing here is, like I've just said, we're credentializing ourselves, because in this guide we're going to give them more information than anybody else has given them, and we're going to give them better information than anybody else has given them, and we're actually giving them the solution to their problem if they want to use it, right? They can take this and they can employ it, deploy it, and it's going to solve their problems. But the reality is, we're targeting businesses that are doing $1 million a year plus, so they're not going to want to implement it themselves. They're going to want us to implement it. At least that's the plan. Anyway, so we're telling them, here's your problem, it's landing pages, here's the solution, here's a guide, and if you do it, you're going to get 100 to 800% improvement in conversion rates guaranteed. So we're incentivizing them to actually read this guide, right? They're not just going to read it because you've given it to them. We've got to incentivize them. So again, let's just read on. So again, if I've offended you, I apologize, but if you're more concerned with generating more leads, more inquiries, and more sales than you are having your ego stroke, then I'm specifically speaking to you, and this letter has found you at the right time. So again, I'm qualifying here. I'm calling out to the prospect. I'm saying, hey, are you somebody that is vain and shallow and you don't really care if you get results as long as you've got a pretty website and your ego is intact? Or are you the type of person that doesn't care about all of that stuff? All you care about is making money? Because if you're the type of person that all you care about is making money with your business, then I'm your guy. I'm the person that can help you here. I'm not in the least bit interested in all of that other stuff. All I want to do is help you generate more money, right? So again, if they're not interested in that, if they're the type of person that's only interested, if they're offended at this point, let's say, if they're offended that you've pointed out that they've got errors in their marketing, then let them go away at this point, because we're not going to be able to help them anyway, right? So what we're doing here is we're kind of qualifying out the person to make sure that there's somebody that we do actually want to work with, right? So let's go on. So here's big mistake number one that the vast majority of advertisers make, and I'm seeing this with your business. AdWords doesn't generate business, your website does. So it's like, well, hang on a second, what's going on here? You're telling me that AdWords doesn't generate business? It's a statement that's going to generate some curiosity and hopefully pull them back into the copy or keep them going through the copyright. So what we've got to do here is we've always got to be in the mind of the prospect. We've always got to be in the conversation and be aware of the conversation that's going on in the prospect's mind, and we've got to control that conversation. So what we've just said here is AdWords doesn't generate business, your website does. So probably what John is thinking at this point is, okay, here we go, he's going to try and sell me a website. So we need to address that because we're not selling websites. So what we're actually trying to do with this whole statement here, this whole subhead, is we're trying to get ourselves away from being positioned as an AdWords manager, as an AdWords consultancy firm, because unless we get away from that, we're going to really struggle to get premium fees from this guy. So we want to immediately start to disassociate ourselves from that crowd, get some separation and get some positioning. So we're just immediately, basically what we're trying to do here is say, hey, we're not an AdWords firm. So we're not even talking about AdWords here. But the result of that is when we say this, your website does, he's going to think immediately that we're going to offer him a website, and we're not. So let's deal with that. The next paragraph. So let's just be clear. Let's just clear up one thing now. I'm not selling web design, right? So immediately we want to clear that up. I'm not the least bit interested in getting you to buy a new website. In fact, you couldn't buy one from me if you wanted to. So again, we've just kind of knocked that on the head. So we've dealt with the objection that's going on, and hopefully we're creating some more curiosity as well in John here. So he's probably thinking at this point, well, he's just told me that the website is the problem, and now he's telling me that he doesn't do websites and I can't get one from him. So we're really making sure that John comes through this copy in the way that we want to, from sentence to sentence to sentence. So let's go on. So what I am interested in is making you more money. And when your conversion rate goes from 5%, less than 5%, to over 20% for exactly the same budget, that's generally what happens, right? So now we're starting to tap into some desire. We're starting to give some proof. So let's give an example. So look at the example below. This was the conversion rate before. This was the conversion rate afterwards. So again, this is starting to build some desire. We're starting to see, obviously, if this is your conversion rate with exactly the same budget as here, then this is going to really help your business a lot. So as we go on, that's over a 400% improvement in performance that came from improved ad copy and some strategic landing page tweaks. So we're basically, what we're doing here is a couple of things really. We're showing how we can easily improve their campaign by 400% without a lot of work, right? Because at this point, John doesn't know what you're going to offer him. So we're basically saying, well, this is pretty simple. It's not going to take a lot of effort. It's not going to take a lot of work. It's going to be pretty quick. So by saying just a few strategic landing page tweaks and some ad copy tweaks, we're positioning that this is an easy fix. It's not going to take an awful lot of time. And that's going to be important, because if John's got to tear down his website and he's got to rebuild his whole business, or he's got to rebuild his whole online presence, that's going to be a problem. He's not going to want to do that. But if we can just make a few tweaks to what's going on, then that's a different story. If you're like, hey, you're telling me that all I need to do is get some better ads and a few tweaks to a landing page and I can increase my conversion rate by 400%, yeah, I might be up for that. A whole rebuild? No, probably not up for that. That's going to be too much. So that's what we're doing here. So then we want to get them emotionally associated with the outcome. So what would a 400% increase mean to you in your business? So we want to get them thinking about that and think, well, if I went from $1 million a year, if you could get me to $1.5 million a year, well, that would be, I could do this and this and this. So we want to get them associated with that outcome, right? So again, we're getting away from I'm selling an AdWords service to we're going more into I'm selling an outcome, I'm selling a lifestyle result, I'm selling a result within your business. You know, saying that I can get your cost per click down by 50% and I can yada yada yada, right? I can do all of this stuff inside of your AdWords account. That isn't going to be very appealing. We want to create images inside of their mind of what the actual outcome of what we do is going to do for them in their business and their life. So again, moving on, to give you an idea, here's what we did for a few of our clients' businesses. Now, this is where you're just going to add a few testimonials of your own. So if you haven't got testimonials, then try and get some. Just ask your clients to give you a testimonial. Sometimes I'll ask them and I'll even write the testimonial and just send it over for approval. So it's not that difficult. Or even, you know, everyone's got friends and family where they've done a little bit of work for, right? So you've got to get some testimonials. That's going to be really important. But if you don't have any at this point, then don't lie, just leave it out. But anyway, if you're like most people, I'm sure you have a big question, right? So again, we've got an objection coming up. I get called about this stuff all the time. Why should I listen to you about Google AdWords? This is an objection. We've got to address this. This is a problem right now. People, telemarketing companies, and you know, people are calling these people all the time. They're emailing them all the time. I know it, you know it, they know it. So we've got to address this, and we've got to address it quickly. So again, why should they listen to me? Why should they listen to me? Why should they listen to you? So let's address that. Let's just hit the objection head on and give them a reason. Well, that's a really good question, and before I answer it, I want to be really clear here. We're not trying to sell you on an AdWords management service. We're just offering a few tips to get your marketing performing better. So at this point, we want to disarm them, right? So if we tell them I'm going to try and sell you something, then everything, or if they think I'm going to try and sell you something, everything is going to be looked at from a battle perspective, right? It's like, I'm trying to sell you something and you're trying not to buy it, or he's trying to sell me something and I'm going to try not to buy it. It's a battle. There's a battle going on. So we want to disarm that, right? So to start with, everybody that's calling John here in this business, everybody that's contacting John in this business is trying to sell him a service. As I say, I know it, you know it, and he knows it. So we're going to do the opposite to that. We're going to be completely different. We're just going to tell him up front, look, I'm not trying to sell you a service. We want to get his guard down. We want to separate ourselves from everybody else. It's like, I'm just trying to help you out here. I'm just trying to give you some tips. And this is why we give the landing page guide early on. Now, let's continue. So there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of companies that can get you cheap AdWords management. As you know, they're contacting you every day. So what we're doing here is we're creating an us and them situation, which is classic marketing, right? It's a classic marketing positioning technique. There's us, who are whatever it is, we haven't positioned ourselves yet completely, versus them, which is cheap AdWords management companies. So we're separating ourselves from the crowd of cheap AdWords management companies by calling it out and saying, hey, I know you're getting called every day by AdWords management companies that are offering cheap services, and if all you want is AdWords management, then you may as well go with them, right? Because they're cheap and they're out there. So again, you can switch this around. The reason I'm showing you this is because you can change this for SEO, Facebook management, social media management, all of this stuff, right? You've just got to think about the conversation that's going on, and insert your solution to the problems that are happening in the prospect's mind. So here you could put, there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of companies that can get you cheap SEO services. As you know, they're contacting you every day, or they're thousands and tens and thousands of social media management companies offering to manage your Facebook every single day. What we're doing there, it's irrelevant what the service is. What we're doing is we're immediately telling him in a kind of a covert, undercover way that we are not a cheap management company. We're not in that group of people. We're something else. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, continuing on, we only work with an exclusive group of clients that have, and we have a very strict but fair set of criteria that our clients must meet. We're certainly not looking to compete with low-end service providers who don't know the first thing about direct response marketing and how to get measurable returns on investment. So again, we're starting to separate ourselves more from those cheap low-end service providers by really emphasizing that them and us scenario and what is the difference between them and us, right? So to start with, we're starting to make the prospect sell himself to us at this point. We're starting to turn this sales letter from we're introducing ourselves and introducing the problem to now we want John to start to qualify himself to us. If we can turn that around, if we can make him chase us instead of us chasing him, then we are going to be positioned to make a sale or much closer to it. So again, exclusive. We deal with an exclusive group of clients. We don't deal with just anybody. We have a strict set of criteria if we work with people. And we're certainly not looking to compete with low-end service providers, right? And then we're using words like, why are we different from those guys? Well, they don't know anything about direct response marketing. They don't know anything about measurable return on investment. So again, let's separate ourselves. Cheap and cheerful is not our motto. Methodical and profitable is what we're about, right? So again, this is we're really hitting home this them and us situation. They are cheap and cheerful. We are methodical and profitable. Which leads me nicely to my next mistake I'm seeing on your site. If you can't measure it, don't do it. Now again, please excuse me for my forthrightness, but I found inadequate tracking on your website, and I'm talking about core tracking. So again, we're going to criticize what they're doing, so let's preface that with an apology, or let's soften it a little bit. I'm really sorry to point this out, but I want to help you out here. I'm your trusted advisor is basically what we're saying. I'm not going to tell you nice things to make you feel good. I'm going to tell you stuff that's going to make you money. So again, this is kind of not very many people really still are doing core tracking. More people are doing it, but still a lot of people are not, and it's very easy to find ads with no core tracking. So again, if you're in a different niche, if you're in a different industry, like if you're doing SEO, then this is going to be really easy. You could put something like, please excuse me for my forthrightness, but I found inadequacies in your metadata. I don't know, I'm making it up. It needs to be stronger than that, but something like that, right? You can figure that out. So how do you know what's working if you're not tracking it? And there doesn't seem to be any phone tracking at all. Sure, you can ask how they found you when a prospect calls. If you're even doing that, like they know, most people are not doing that, right? But how do you know which keyword from your AdWords campaign triggered that call, right? So basically, we're setting up another problem here. We're setting up a problem to offer a solution. This is educationally based marketing. As we said yesterday, we want to solve a problem by offering a solution. We don't want to offer a solution to solve a problem. So if we just say, hey, you've got no core tracking and we can offer it, then this person hasn't been educated enough to understand that they need core tracking and the value and the impact that that has on his business. So before we even go into that, we want to make them aware of the problem, right? We're educating them to the problem. So we're going to do that here with 80% of your AdWords campaign is a waste of money. But which 80%? If you could just identify the waste and get it out, you're going to save 80% of your ad spend. How can you do that without great conversion tracking? So this is just a completely logical, completely truthful statement, right? The majority of your ad spend is wasted, but without legitimate tracking in place so we know what's working, then how do we know how to do that, right? So what we're doing here is we're immediately showing them how we can improve their business very, very quickly, right? And if we go back to yesterday's presentation, if I can find it here very quickly, here we go. So what can you subtract from your business? So it's much easier to get somebody the result from the point of view of a subtraction than it is from an addition, right? So if somebody's running an AdWords campaign and they're spending, say, $3,000 a month, and 80% of that ad spend is wasted because they don't have core tracking in place, they don't have adequate tracking in place, conversion tracking, then it is going to be very, very easy for us to generate enough additional revenue and savings from that campaign to justify our fee almost immediately, right? All we got to do is put some tracking in place and we're going to be able to save them a ton of money. So we can justify our fee, and we can get to where our fee is not really costing them anything, which we'll get to in a minute, from the point of view of a subtraction. It's always easier to deal with a business where you get them the win from the point of view of a subtraction than it does from an addition, right? So if you're just starting out a campaign for a company that hasn't run an AdWords campaign before, then the win has to come from an addition, right? We've got to get them the additional revenue from an additional campaign, and that could take a lot of time to gather enough data to make that successful. But if they're already running AdWords and they've got a decent spend, then if they don't have core tracking, we can just or if they don't have proper tracking, we can just put that tracking in place, and boom, instantaneously within a day or two, we can save them a ton of money, and we get a big win from a point of view, or from the point of view of the subtraction. So that's what I'm looking for, really, and we'll go in more detail on that in just a second, right? So we're showing them. It's like the person at this point, John, is probably going, well, that's really true. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't necessarily think about that, or I didn't even know that you could track cores from AdWords. I didn't even know you could do that. So hopefully you can see there how our EBM is helping John to move forward within his business, and the person that helps him the most, educates him the most, is going to be the person that he looks to as the expert and is going to be most likely to get the business, right? So moving on, so we got some stuff going on here. So our proprietary system means budget is deployed with mathematical certainty, not chance. So this is important, right? So again, we're starting to build some value into what's going on. John is now starting to get some understanding of how we're going to help him. We're not just telling him we can help him, we're giving him the information, and we're showing him, we're educating him as to what his problem is and how we can help him. So at this point he's thinking, actually, yeah, tracking is inadequate, there's no core tracking, the ads could be a little bit better, I've had a look at the landing page guide and there's definitely some room for improvement there. Maybe this is something that I'm interested in. This is where John is in his mind right now. But at the same time, he might be thinking, well, I can get this anywhere. I can just give this to my web developer, or I can give this to my company that's doing this right now. So we've got to address that, right? We've got to separate ourselves definitively from the rest of the market. So when we put a statement like our proprietary system, well, proprietary means that you can't get it anywhere else. So now we're setting the situation up to where if you want this, you can only get it from me. You can't get it anywhere else. I'm the only person you can get it from. So that's what we're doing here. And then again, we're building some benefits into this statement. Proprietary system means budget is deployed with mathematical certainty, not chance. So basically we're telling them that everything you're doing right now is just chance, and we can turn that around and make this mathematically certain. We can get the chance element out of the equation. So we're not offering a box standard service every web design shop who sees an opportunity to make a little extra money is offering. This is serious marketing for serious businesses seriously looking to grow, and it's certainly not for everybody. So now we're going to qualify and we're going to take away, right? We've got John's interest at this point, hopefully. We're starting to get him to qualify himself to us a little bit, and he's interested in what we're doing. So now we want to take it away from him, right? Now we want to take it away. Now he's interested, and this is really, really powerful stuff here. So again, we're separating ourselves. We're not offering box standard services every web design shop who sees an opportunity to make a little extra money is offering. Again, we're deploying the them versus us positioning model here. We're getting rid of every web design company out there that offers PPC services or whatever service you're offering, we're getting rid of those as competition, right? We're saying that, hey, this is not what they do. If they're a web design company, because to be perfectly honest with you, John probably is using his web design company to run these ads, so we've got to address that. That's a potential problem. So we want to do that in a nice way, right? So if he's using his web design company to run the ads, then we're going to tell them what they're up to, right? Your web design company is just taking advantage of an opportunity here to make a little bit of extra money, right? This is not what they do. They're a web design company. They're great at web design. They're not great at AdWords, right? So again, we want John next line is we want John to identify himself with our ideal client avatar. So we're saying this is serious marketing for serious businesses. Basically we're saying, John, are you a serious business? Are you looking for serious marketing? And are you really serious about growing? Because if you are, then this is going to be good for you. But this is certainly not for everybody, right? So let's go on. So who is this for? So now we want John to qualify himself to us. So this is not for startups. We don't, unless it's well funded, of course. We don't want to deal with businesses that have no money. The bottom line is, if you deal with people that are broke, you're going to be broke. There's no other way around it, right? You can't, two people that are starving can't come together and say, hey, let's share our food, because they haven't got any food. That's why they're starving. If you got to deal with businesses that have money. So this is not really going to be for startups. Secondly, this is not for companies turning over less than $500,000 a year in revenue. So again, hopefully we've done some research and we're not sending direct mail pieces out to companies that are startups or direct mail pieces. But again, basically what we're doing here is we're telling the prospect that we only deal with high-end businesses. We only deal with serious businesses. So everybody wants to be viewed as a serious business and a serious business owner. So John is going to hopefully want us to look at him as a serious business owner and a serious business, so he will qualify himself out. This is really the purpose of this. Companies who are short-term in thinking. So again, we're dealing with some objections that are going to come up down the road potentially. So we want really at least a 3-month period to get the campaign working how we want it working. And if you do an SEO or social media, you're going to want even longer than that. You're probably going to want 6 months to a year. So we're not interested in businesses that are short-term in thinking. So if we do go ahead and work with John, and then in 30 days he says, well, this hasn't worked, I'm not very happy with that, then we can come back to our initial letter here and say, well, John, we did say when we first contacted you that this is not for businesses who are short-term in their thinking, and to be, if you don't mind me saying, to be perfectly honest with you, 30 days of running something is very short-term thinking. So I'm not quite sure what's happened here. I thought we were clear that we only work with companies that have a long-term view, and what I'm hearing is that it kind of sounds like you're a little bit short-term in your thinking here. So can you clarify that for me? So we're kind of dealing with that objection down the road, right? Because we don't want to deal, this is true, we don't want to deal with companies that are short-term in their thinking. And then finally, companies with low transactional value. So again, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier for us to deal with companies. And again, we deal with this in the paid training, where who you deal with is extremely important. Picking your niche is extremely important, and we want to be dealing really exclusively with high ticket, high revenue products, high revenue companies, that kind of stuff. So going on. So the next question is, well, anybody can say that they deal with this criteria, right? Anybody can say that we only deal with serious businesses, but let's credentialize that a little bit. So why are we so picky? Why do we have this criteria? Well, the reason is because we offer 100% money back guarantee. We don't work for you, we partner with you, and we only partner with the businesses we are 100% confident we can get results for. We couldn't offer 100% money back guarantee if we took on any Tom, Dick or Harry who decided just to give it a go on the back of a nothing to lose guarantee. So again, we're offering some extreme risk reversal here. We're credentializing ourselves as the expert, right? So it's difficult. It's going to be difficult for the prospect not to believe you when you make statements like this, right? We only work with certain companies, and the reason we only work with certain companies is because we offer 100% money back guarantee. So what's going to happen here is when you get people on the phone, it's going to be a completely different situation. When they do respond to this, they are going to say stuff like, I'm not sure if you're the type, if we're in a position for you to work with us yet. And I say, hey, that's okay. Tell me what you got going on. And then they start selling themselves to you. They start selling themselves on the idea that you should work with them. So this all happens here in this letter. This is all positioned in this letter, and if you don't do that, it's gonna be very difficult for you, right? So the next thing is obviously that this is our idea. This is our sweet spot, right? These are people that we can actually help. We can't help startups, really very difficult. We can't help companies that are on very low budgets, have short-term thinking or low transactional value. We really can't help those people. So what we're doing here is we're qualifying the best clients for us as well. So if they don't meet this criteria, then it's probably good that they don't contact us. So our offer to you. So now we're in the offer, right? So we've said, here's what we can do. Here's who we can do it for. If that's you, here's what we can offer you. So if you meet the criteria and are serious about growing your business, I'd like to offer you a complimentary account review and strategy session. It's complimentary, carries no obligation. At the end of it, one of three things will happen. The first is you implement the information for yourself. The second is you get somebody else to do it for you. The third is you ask us to do it for you. So again, some extreme risk reversal going on here. We're saying, hey, look, we're not going to pressure you into any kind of sales here. It's totally up to you. Whatever you choose, you'll get no hard sales from us. It's just not our style. Right, so what we're doing here is we're doing some extreme risk reversal. We're just telling them, look, you're going to get some value from this call, and there's absolutely no obligation in the outcome whatsoever. You can take it, you can do it yourself, you can give it to your web design team if you want to, and they can implement the plan that we put together for you, or you can ask us to do it for you. So we're giving them some options here, and we're just telling them up front, I'm not going to sell this stuff to you hardcore. It's just not our style. And just so you know, now this is very important right here, just so you know, if you choose to partner with us, our fees start at $1,500 per month, but really it won't cost you anything. So again, like I didn't mention this, but let's do this quickly. So we don't work for you, we partner with you. So this is very important. This is in there for a specific reason. So if times get tough for a business, then contractors are the first people to go, right? So you want to position yourself as a partner. You don't want to position yourself as a contract service provider. So you want to position yourself as being equal to the business owner, not subservient to them. And as it says, as we say here, we don't work for you. You're not hiring us, and we're not one of your minions. We don't work for you. We partner with you on these projects to get you the results. We only partner with businesses we're 100% confident. So again, you've got to position yourself as a partner. You've got to set yourself apart from service providers, because the service provider, as I've just said, is the first one to go when times get tough. So coming down here, so again, as we've just read, just so you know, if you choose to partner with us, so again, we're saying that, partner with us, not if you choose to hire us, if you choose to partner with us. This is a very specific choice of words here. Our fees start at $1,500 per month, but that really won't cost you anything. So again, whatever it is here, whatever your fees cost, put that in there. So what we've just done here is a couple of things, right? We're telling them up front what we cost. So if they do ask for a strategy session, they know what the fees are. So they're not going to get on the phone and say, yeah, I'm really interested. How much does it cost? It's $1,500 a month. And they go, holy smoke, Batman. Well, I thought it was going to be like 200. They need to know this number up front, whatever number that is. And by putting that in there, a lot of people are going to be scared to do this because it's going to scare people off. But it does scare people off, but that's a good thing. But what we've done here is we've built a huge amount of value, and we've justified this $1,500 through all of this, right? Up until this point, we've built our value into the offer, and at this point, hopefully they can see that $1,500 is a good price for what we're offering. But going on here, it says, but really it won't cost you anything. So at this point, obviously, immediately in John's mind, he's going to say, how come? Why doesn't it cost me anything? So let's address it. So the reason is because if we can't make you a savings or produce at least our fee in new revenue, we won't work with you. We only work with businesses we can produce an ROI for. Also, as I mentioned, you're covered with a 100% money-back guarantee. There's no questions asked. To make this even more of a no-brainer for you, so we'll come on to this in a minute. So let's talk about this just a second. So again, this is where I'm saying I personally like businesses where I can get the result from the point of view of a subtraction. If I can put good quality, proper call tracking and conversion tracking in place, then I can usually save that business a ton of money right off the bat that at least covers the fee, which means that it hasn't cost them anything, right? We've saved them $1,500, they've spent $1,500, they've broken even. Very worst case scenario. That's the very worst case scenario. So as you can see, I put that in here. If we can't make you in savings, right, or produce at least our fee in new revenue, we won't work with you. So again, this comes back to the qualification. We only work with businesses we can produce an ROI for. And again, this is where the 100% guarantee comes in, because we're not going to work with you unless we can do that, because we're offering a guarantee. So the next part, to make this even more of a no-brainer, so we want to get them on the phone. If you think I've wasted your time, I'll give you $100. I respect you and your time, so if we do a complimentary consultation and you think I've wasted your time, just let me know and I'll cut you a check for $100 to cover your wasted time. I don't know of any other company that contact you every day that offer a service like that. So this is some extreme risk reversal, right? And this is some extreme curiosity. So you're offering a 100% money back guarantee, and you're saying, hey, if you get on the phone, you don't, before we even sign up, before we even do business, if you get on the phone with me for a consultation and you feel like I've wasted your time, I'm going to give you $100 just for wasting your time. Now, don't be afraid of this. Don't be scared of this. I've never had to pay this. Nobody has ever asked me for this, right? So it's not a problem. Now, you can leave this out if you want to, but this is powerful, powerful stuff. This is going to really jumpstart your lead gen here. So I wouldn't leave it out personally. I put it in there. And the way you want to look at this is, if you have to give them $100, then it's cost you $100 to generate a strategy session. Now, you're not going to generate strategy sessions on Facebook for $100. Just look at it as the cost of advertising. Look at it as the cost of business. You know, if you're running ads on Adwords to generate this type of business, SEO, PPC, social media management, you're looking at maybe up to $30 per click, right? So 3 or 4 clicks gets you to your $100, and that you haven't even got a strategy session. You probably haven't even got an email sign up at that point. So this is, if you have to give the $100, it's still super cheap marketing cost, right? So I wouldn't worry about that too much. So I don't know of any other company that does this. So again, we're separating them. We're really hitting home that them and us positioning. We are different, right? We are different. 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 You got to just get that in there over and over again until through repetition they start to get it into their minds that they're different. Now, next is what to do next. So this is just call to action. So send me an email, put your email in there, or give my secretary a call. Now, you don't want them calling you directly. We're not going to get into that now, but how you set this up is very important. You don't want them calling you directly. We need about 2 days to review your account, then we'll jump on a 30-minute call to review the finding. At the end of the call, if we both agree it's a good fit and you invite me to do so, we'll talk about working together, and if not, you're free to use all of the findings you choose. You literally have nothing to lose. So this is a no-brainer, right? We want to make this an absolute no-brainer for them. And hopefully you can see how we're doing that. We're really pointing out you literally have nothing to lose here. So if you don't invite me to talk about working together, I won't even mention it. That's my promise. So again, some extreme risk reversal going on here. We're taking away every objection that they have to getting on that call. If it's not legitimate, we'll give them $100. And if they're not happy, if they don't want to work with us, if they don't ask us about our service, we won't even mention it to them. So we're making it super easy to say yes. And lastly, I look forward to hearing from you. Make sure you sign it. Don't put a digital signature in there. So some other stuff here, I wouldn't worry about this too much. And then again, last page is going to be just how to contact us, right? Make sure that they know how to contact us. And that's it right there. That's the direct mail piece that has produced over $1 million of revenue so far. Very effective, works really well. Now, of course, the ones we're using in our business now are even more effective than this. We've refined this. But this is going to get you started, and hopefully there's enough information there to where if you're doing something other than PPC, then you're going to be able to modify it. Hopefully you can understand the psychological principles that are going into this letter and the triggers and everything else. This letter here, as I've said before, I've licensed it to clients for almost $10,000, and if you got this written, if you went out and got this written, then it's going to cost you tens and tens of thousands of dollars. This is a winning letter. And the credit card receipts tell me it's a winning letter. It's a great letter, and I know that from credit card receipts. So go ahead, use this in your business. Take it, and I've got some more information for you tomorrow. If you think this is good, wait till the next training. I've got some really awesome stuff for you that I think is really going to help you grow your digital marketing consultancy. So I look forward to seeing you in the next training, and I hope you found this useful and helpful.